So I just wanted to mention one thing. We were having class today, and this question came up. Like sometimes when devotees have problems, they say, "Well, just focus on hearing and chanting; all your problems will go away." And that's not always true. Sometimes you actually have to work on your problems. Sometimes by hearing and chanting, some problems, if you neglect them, they get more neglected. So there has to be some balance. So it's true that many problems do go away just by hearing and chanting, but some problems don't hear and chant themselves away, at least not immediately, and we need to focus on them. And that might be a controversial statement, but I just wanted to make that statement. And we can discuss it. You can comment on this video and give your opinion. But I think it's disempowering sometimes to think that, well, if I just take total shelter of Krishna, all these other problems will go away. When you have experience that they don't go away. And that's the real answer to the question. Well, if you're asking, will this problem go away by hearing and chanting? Say, well, do you still have the problem? Is it getting better? Is by taking complete shelter, is it getting better? Or does taking shelter mean that you also have to focus on it? So that was the idea of, and I think it's misunderstanding. Nirmala Chandra, what do you say? You agree? Because Nirmala Chandra, he's actually focusing on a lot of his personal problems and he's overcoming them in ways that he wasn't overcoming them before. And you could say, well, Krishna consciousness is giving him the power to focus on those problems. So we don't want to deny that, the value. I'm not saying that at all. But sometimes, when you focus and you work on yourself and you deal with stuff, things get better. And I gave a whole series of classes in Mayapur 2 years ago about how certain psychological problems affect our japa. And so that you're trying to improve your japa, and then the idea is that your japa will solve all your problems, but you have other problems that are getting in the way of chanting good japa that you need to work on so you can chant good japa. So does that make sense? Actually, we just got a new phone, so we're testing out this video on the new phone. Just want to see how it works. And but I wanted to mention this because this has been on my mind, and I think it's something that a lot of us can misunderstand. I really need to. I don't even know if I'm looking in the camera. The camera, where it is. But we need to understand that sometimes we have to focus on problems, and we may not be able to chant them away. And another point is our chanting may not be that pure yet, that we can chant them away. So, that's the idea. Now, if you have any questions or comments on this, why don't you ask? Because I just wanted to make that point, to contemplate, because the devotee just wrote me, and she's having problems in her marriage. And she said her husband just said, well, hearing and chanting, it'll solve all the problems. And I said sometimes, when you have a problem and you try to hear and chant it away, the problem gets worse because you're actually neglecting it. And maybe you don't know how to deal with it, or you don't want to deal with it. And so in the name of not wanting to deal with it, in the name of not wanting to deal with it, you just say, well, I'll hear and chant it. I'll hear and chant it away. And then as you hear and chant it gets worse due to neglect. So I think sometimes maybe it's a misunderstanding of what the power of the Maha Mantra is. And, it's like, well, if I chant Hare Krishna, will my business get better? If I chant Hare Krishna, will my marriage get better? Well, indirectly you can say yes, but sometimes it may have nothing to do with that. And you would think, well, if I become more Krishna conscious, my marriage would get better, but not always. You actually have to do the things that make it better. And sometimes you chant Hare Krishna, and then it makes you not want to do the things that would help you get better. So, it's an interesting idea, isn't it? That you think, if I chant, it'll get better, and then sometimes by chanting, you don't want to do the things that would make it better. And so your chanting makes it worse by detaching you from the need to do the things that would make it better. Isn't that interesting? Or you get so absorbed in hearing and chanting, you get such a taste that you kind of neglect everything else and your material life falls apart. So when you think, yeah, well, it'll just, whatever. By hearing and chanting, everything will be fine. But sometimes you hear and chant your way into more problems. So I know that sounds strange, and I know I could be fired from the ISKCON movement for saying that. No, I'm only kidding. Externally it might appear strange, but I think if you understand what I'm saying, you'll agree that sometimes you can't hear and chant a problem. Well, you have to, you're hearing and chanting, you're running away, and you need to run into it and deal with it, face it, and like that. So, that's the idea. I wanted to communicate that. Now, Sudeep says, how can we increase chanting? The same way you increase anything, by getting a taste. Just like if you asked me, how could you increase eating? I would say, eat things that you like to eat, and you'll eat more of them, right? So, if you chant properly, you get a taste. And if you get a taste, you want to chant more. If you don't have a taste, you want to chant less. It's just how the world works. It works that way for everything, so it works that way for chanting also. Right? So let's do some dramatic effects here. Now we're going to get dark, because the background is light. Whoops. Now you're losing me, but it's adjusting. Dramatic effects. Now, does anyone disagree with what I just said? Because controversy is enlivening and inspiring, isn't it? There's some controversy, some discussion. Then, Krishna Karshani, what do you think? You think sometimes we hear and chant our way into bigger problems because we neglect what we should be doing? Like today, we're doing a forgiveness workshop, so we're focused on a lot of different aspects we were focused on, and I think it was a confirmation that sometimes you need to take time out and focus. And Jimena was there today, and she was focusing on some issues that required focus. They required attention. So like I'm hearing and chanting, but I may have some anarthas that I need particularly to focus on. And one argument for this is that Prabhupada says you should pull the weeds. So you might say, well, I should pull the weeds, but if I'm chanting, won't the weeds be pulled? But Prabhupada's saying pull them. That means you have to acknowledge them and focus on them. And the chanting will give you the power to pull them. So I think a lot of devotees misunderstand how the chanting will work. Like if you do bhakti, it gives you the desire and the power to focus on the things you need to focus on. But if you use bhakti to neglect what you need to focus on, then that would be a mistake. Then your chanting in some ways could be undermining. Or sometimes people use chanting to escape. You know what I mean? So they're actually it's counterproductive. They're actually running away. They're running into the Mahamantra to take shelter of Krishna, but they could be running away from problems they need to deal with. So that's the idea. So I just wanted to give you all that message, and Hare Krishna to all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 or 3:15, 3:30 Amsterdam time. We're going to be doing the Sunday Feast lecture. And if you're anywhere near Amsterdam, come to the temple. We're doing a forgiveness workshop from 10 to 2 tomorrow. So, nice talking to all of you. Hare Krishna, and we'll see you soon. Well,
You need to...
Doesn't want to finish.